joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show from the worldwide leader in sports. Let's talk football, people, because training camp is just around the corner. Jeff Darlington back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Jeffrey?
I've got thoughts, too, on this.
What do you got?
Tony Parker and Christina Aguilera at the Palm.
There you go. Palm.
Palm's very 90s.
Circa 2005.
When was the last time you were in Vegas, Jeff? When was the last time?
Oh, it's been a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there for covering a Raiders game, and it was a pretty desperate scene.
Which one? When was? By the way, you got to be more specific than that. Which one was desperate, Jeff?
I think it was during COVID, so I'm gonna.
Oh, okay. We'll leave it from. We'll leave it there, as they say in the news business. All right. Let's just jump in here. What is the timing on Dalvin Cook? On what's going on with him? Best you can tell, Jeff. What do you got for me there?
First of all, I think it's important. I keep having all these, Dolphins fans freaking out in my Twitter timeline about why doesn't Dalvin just sign? We should just move on from him. Like, it's July 10th. Like, GMs aren't even around. Like, they're on vacation. This is not a time of year when players sign. I remember talking to a GM actually this past year about a player that he had signed last year, and he had a quarterback who was coming to him constantly to try to press him to sign a wide receiver. And the GM finally had to tell him, let me do my job. If I sign him right now, it's going to cost us $15 million. If we wait 3 weeks, I can sign him for about $6. So, I think that sort of applies to what we're going through right now with Dalvin Cook. Dalvin wants to see what his market is. The Dolphins, for instance, aren't going to want to, just press and sign him just at a time when it doesn't matter. So I think that we should sort of expect maybe, say, Saquon or Josh Jacobs get a deal done before July 17th and sort of reset the running back market. Maybe that happens and helps. Maybe it doesn't, and Dalvin just has to ultimately make the decision himself. So I would say just closer to training camp, maybe July 25th.
Did you just choose July 17th out of thin air, or is there a deadline going on there?
No, the deadline, the July 17th one is the deadline for the guys that are franchise tagged to do a long-term deal. So Saquon and Josh Jacobs have until July 17th. So my thought is if they do a long-term deal, at least Dalvin will have a better understanding. Because right now all these running backs are looking around at each other, whether it's Zeke or Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook or
Kareem Hunt. He's out there too.
Kareem Hunt. Yeah, they're all looking at each other like, what are we worth? Because everybody's telling us we're not worth much. So when do we find out what we're worth? And it's going to take somebody, and right now, July 17th being maybe the next marker, to do a deal to give anybody any sense of what these running backs are currently valued at.
Fair to say it's more likely Saquon does that before July 17th than Josh Jacobs? Yeah,
the Josh Jacobs one feels a little sideways right now. I haven't really sensed that was ever going to even happen since Josh McDaniels became the head coach, So I would say Saquon, to me, seems like the guy Joe Shane wants him there. They seem to be getting to a place where at least there's a good offer on the table. So, we'll see what happens with Saquon, but I would say, that's the most likely.
Well, let's just linger on Josh Jacobs a little bit, Jeff Darlington, because when you said that, since McDaniels got there, things felt a little bit weird. And if I'm not mistaken, the preseason last year, you don't read too much in a preseason, but last year when the preseason hit and Jacobs wasn't really significantly used, the sense was it wasn't because they were saving him up like everybody does with their star running back. It was that they just didn't think much of him, and the reason why we thought that maybe is because they didn't pick up a fifth-year option earlier in the spring, and then Josh Jacobs becomes the leading rusher of the National Football League, and the prove-it deal, he's saying, I proved it, and the prove-it deal hasn't hit the table. Is that a fair reading of everything that of that?
That's exactly my assessment of it. And so that's where I'm saying, like, at least with Saquon, when things have kind of felt a little weird, it's because any negotiation can get a little funky. With Josh Jacobs, you've got all these, chips on his shoulder now. He wasn't, like you said, he didn't have the option picked up. Then he goes and has a career year. So to me, I think that they've got a bigger, gap to fix here before July 17th. And again, maybe, if Saquon gets his deal done in the day before, 2 days before, which is when these generally get done, then maybe the Raiders and Josh Jacobs do a very similar deal. That could happen. But last year there were 4 players at this deadline that also were trying to get their deal done, and none of them did. So while we like to have hope this time of year that someone will get a long-term deal done, it's not an absolute.
Well, I mean, and then while we're lingering in the is this a fair assessment world, Jeff, the McDaniels tree, we all know, hails from the Belichick tree, and they don't pay running backs that. I mean, they have running backs by committee. Yep. I mean, and then they'll find the next, Lawrence Maroney and the next Ramondre Stevenson and get a year or two out of them, and that's why I'm kind of holding my breath to see if Dalvin Cook doesn't you hear Cook to the Patriots maybe, but and we'll talk about DeAndre Hopkins in a second. I just don't know how the Jacobs thing works out. And then does he hold out if he doesn't get this deal? Like, that's the ultimate question, is who actually pushes the pedal to the metal with whatever they have in their toolbox, Jeff.
Yeah, same with Saquon too, right? Like July 18th, if neither of these guys get their deal done, where are we headed? Because Josh Jacobs, I think, has said himself, like, this isn't just about my deal, it's about future running backs. Like, we're doing this for the position. So if that's true, and all of a sudden this becomes one of these principal things, which can go away pretty quick, are we suddenly talking about a Le'Veon Bell situation, which obviously did not work out well. I think we all agree on that. So July 18th, if they don't get their deals done, Saquon and Josh, which one of those guys is going to sit there and say, I'm not playing? I tend to think they'll play. I just don't think from a business perspective it's prudent. But principle can be a powerful thing sometimes.
Jeff Darlington from the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. So what's the scoop with DeAndre Hopkins and the timing on that? Is it similar? Because I don't know if there's any, wide receiver franchise tag that he'd be waiting on. So what do you got from you there?
No, his is straight up, basically had good visits with the Titans and the Patriots and walked away from both. And I'm just, there's, again, like Dalvin, no incentive for me to sign at this moment. We'll see, if the market can kind of create another bidder to get my money up. But, yeah, I think that he would be ultimately okay playing for the Titans. He has a relationship with the offensive coordinator there from his time in Houston, or the Patriots. We know Bill Belichick obviously has heaped praise on him. So I could see either of those happening. That being said, this is not me reporting this or anything. This is me just saying, what would it take to get another suitor? Say the Chiefs get a long-term deal done with Chris Jones. Right now, the Chiefs don't have the money. They get a deal done with him. All of a sudden, that frees up $10, $15 million in salary cap space. Do they then become interested in the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes as well? I mean, that would obviously be a pretty massive situation. So I think if you're DeAndre, you're sitting there saying, I'm not going to sign with these two teams until I know exactly who my potential suitors are as we get closer to training camp.
Well, if he's ring chasing, where's other people? I mean, did he price himself out of the ring chase market, do you think?
DeAndre?
Yeah.
I got that sense with the Bills, for instance. My understanding with the Bills is they love DeAndre Hopkins, think he'd be a great addition, but they're not going to pay him. And if he wants to ring chase, there's a spot for him. But DeAndre came out and said the three things that he really wanted was an organization that had great structure. He said he wanted a great quarterback and a great defense. So, that's pretty impressive list of prerequisites for your team.
Right.
The problem is if you want those three things, you're going to have to not get the fourth thing, which is money. So, where is that in the priority list? That is to be determined.
Yeah, with all due respect to the structures or the quarterbacks or the defenses of the Titans and the Patriots, depending on how everyone knows what I might be referring to when I say those two things, and some would be strong in one and not as in the other. That I don't think he's checked all three boxes at all with those two, which is, again, why I'd be surprised why, he wouldn't take less money to go somewhere, show he can still do it in a manner that is Hopkins-like, 1 year, put a ring on his finger, and then go find a new spot like that.
That's what I would have thought. I would have thought it would have been similar, to Randy Moss when he went to the Patriots.
Right.
And I feel like the Chiefs are now sort of that team where we're starting to see it a little bit more with these, last year MVS and Alan Lazard, and you're starting to see these receivers say, I can go to the Chiefs, go prove it, get my ring, and get paid the next year. I actually, when DeAndre Hopkins first got his release, I thought that was a no-brainer, absolutely made the most sense in the world. But, clearly, and I'm not faulting Hopkins, but, we list those three things. Again, I think that there's a fourth component to that, and we know what that is.
Jeff Darlington here on the Rich Eisen Show. Who goes first, Burrow or Herbert? And Joey doesn't seem too concerned about it. He's white partying with Michael Rubin, out on the Hamptons.
He'll be fine.
So
By the way,
know
that party, it looked a lovely time, but it also looked like just a lot of picture taking. Like, it didn't look like, there was no candidates of people having fun. Picture taking.
Is that your take on it? Because, who wasn't having fun at that
Michael Rubin
point?
posted like a movie trailer video of it.
Let me tell you something.
Amazing.
Wouldn't you, if you could?
Yes.
I would have a great time. I'd probably get kicked out for having too good of a time.
Right. Like the only Leo at my party is my wife. She's a Leo. Like that's about it.
Yeah. It's pretty good. No, I
Did you
don't
like
want
that
to
one?
knock the party. I'm sure it was a great time. They just didn't have to take pictures.
Okay.
That would be.
Well, Jeff, look, if you wanted an invite, you don't have to be all, down about it,
I shouldn't have been down.
Brady's there.
It's a little jealousy.
Brady was there.
Yeah, Brady was there. Having a great time.
Everybody was there.
Everybody was there.
Oh, my gosh. So,
everybody had a great time.
all right. So,
Everybody had a good time.
who goes first, Burrow or Herbert? What do you got for me on that?
Burrow, Herbert. So the thing that's most interesting here for me is Burrow. I'm curious about the structure of Burrow's deal. Like Herbert, I think we could find out tomorrow. It's the same as Jalen Hurts' deal, and it's typical framework. To me, when Burrow made the comments that I have made clear to the organization the structure of the contract I want, and I think it would be best for the team and myself moving forward. To me, that says I'm guessing here. I just think the tone of that. I'm curious to see if this winds up being more like a Patrick Mahomes deal. The 10-year, $500 million situation where it's they can adjust each year. I feel like Burrow is the guy, other than Mahomes, that would do that. And if that's the case, these deals aren't contingent on one another. And I could see the Herbert deal being less complicated and just, any minute, any day, we see that one get done.
So then which quarterback deal gets done first?
I'll say Herbert.
Okay. Yeah. Herbert gets done first. I was going to give you one. I was going to give you one more. Brady's deal with the Raiders for ownership.
No, Brady's deal when he starts to play again, or what?
No,
yes.
no,
yes,
no. I said ownership with the Raiders. What about that one? You got anything there? The ownership was if his ownership piece with the Raiders. It's apparently coming.
Yeah, they're all set.
That's
right?
set.
They're
It's
all
done.
set.
It's approved. He's in. He's done.
I guess it hasn't been approved by OSHA, but the Raiders have announced it.
Okay.
I think.
All right. So is there a path to playing then? Were you being facetious or what?
Rich, you trying to give Dove something to tweet about right now?
Jeff, who is Dove? Can we talk about this?
No, here. First of all, it's Dove. Okay, I think I'm talking to two non-Jews here. Okay, so all right. Number one. Number two, if you're not here and I'm not here to get aggregated, then what the hell are we here for?
That's what we're here for.
You know what I mean?
That might be our fantasy team name.
What is that?
Just here to get aggregated.
Just here to get aggregated. That's all I'm here for. That's it.
T-shirt.
No.
Great T-shirt.
No, you're the one who said it. You're like for his playing career. I mean, that door's shut.
I am going to change my profile on Twitter as soon as we get off the phone to say I'm just here to get aggregated.
Then what else are we doing if we're not here to get aggregated? You understand?
That's right.
It's July 10th for crying out loud. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, he's done, right, Jeff?
What about Brady?
He's done. I get the sense he's done.
No, he's done.
He's done.
He's done playing.
For real.
Yeah, he's done playing.
Until someone calls.
Yeah, he's doing the Miami thing, having a nice time with his, being a really devoted, dedicated father, which is actually very impressive to me.
I agree.
And but yeah, I think he's settled in.
Okay. Last one for you then. While we're
like Rich, you don't know.
What?
I mean, you're the closet Tom Brady guy. People call me the Tom Brady guy.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, I wasn't invited to. First of all, I wasn't around the. Yeah, I mean, I am going to go on TB12 for the 40.
Right.
He did tell me I've got a few more months left, so I am just eating chicken parm like it's going out of style.
I've tried to do his diet too. It's not for everybody.
I bet it's not for everybody. But no, I mean, I personally think the guy's done. I really do think he is done. It is 100% done, unless something horrible happens in Miami and the greatest quarterback of all time is literally sitting there as an emergency quarterback in a geographically sound spot. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, but then what would he do? He'd have to sell his share in the Raiders?
I mean,
put it on hold.
Fox won't care. That's for damn sure. They don't have any rules over there, right, Mike? There's no rules.
We have rules.
Okay, I had no idea. But anyway, now we're just spinning here. So what do we know about Jimmy G's foot right now? I mean, that's a serious question.
Yeah.
What do we know about this?
I'm as curious as anyone on
close.
that one. And they've played it pretty close to the vest, and we'll see. It's one of those things where everybody's dismissing it. In fact, many people within the organizations I want, and they're all saying it's going to be fine.
Oh,
no different than like with the Bills, with Diggs and Josh Allen. And I believe that the Bills and the Raiders think that things are going to be fine, but that doesn't necessarily mean we should not be keeping a very close eye on it because, these situations, like organizationally, they want to think Jimmy's going to be fine, but one hiccup, and all of a sudden we're in a situation where that contract is written as such that, man, like if they could back out of that, that would be. And I think they are committed to him. They obviously signed him and moved on from Derek Carr for him, and I believe that component of it. But until we see Jimmy out there on the field, healthy with that foot, passing a physical. I understand why the questions are being asked.
Oh, of course. I mean, the two things that would concern me is, number one, that the Raiders redid the contractual language when it happened. So they were planning for the alternative. And then two, they signed Brian Hoyer, and the football gods want to see him play. So he's going to get out there, because they can't quit. They can't quit Brian Hoyer. But in all seriousness, I mean, you just mentioned Diggs and Allen. I would compare the Jimmy G thing maybe more to, Brock Purdy's arm, and that rubber is truly about to meet the road on that, because that is just, bones healing or scars healing or tendons healing. I mean, Diggs and Allen could totally handle it themselves if it is in fact that. And Josh Allen went on the Bussin' Pod recently and called out media members, and I'm sure I'm one of them, for overdoing it. But the coach was the one who said, I'm very concerned, I mean, So when he said that, but at least if it is between the two of them, two grown-ass men who love each other can handle it. You know what I mean? So,
I think Josh is definitely the type who can. And to that point, I just more mean, it's one of those things where, we're always told by teams that it's going to be fine. Sometimes it isn't.
Right.
I think Josh and Stefon, I think they can both handle this. But, just like the Jimmy G situation, crazy things happen, weird things happen. And, to your point about Brock Purdy, though, I actually truly believe Kyle Shanahan when he says that he thinks that Brock Purdy will be ready for week 1 and that Brock Purdy will be the starter. That one I do truly believe 100%.
And then number 2, who's second? Is it Darnold, or is it going to be...
Who cares?
Well, hold a minute. Oh, wait. Did you just drop a "who cares" on me? Did you do that? Because
it wasn't on you.
No. I mean, who cares means, number one, you don't care about being aggregated. How dare you? Number 2,
we do care about that.
No, but
my thing is do we think that the 49ers are Super Bowl contenders with Trey Lance?
Well, they were Super Bowl contenders with Brock Purdy, so yeah.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I think Brock Purdy might be the guy.
No, I know that, but they're a team that if any team has proven the depth chart is crucial, it's the Niners, right? So if Purdy's not ready to go, then who does get that shot? And if it's the guy that they just flipped one single draft choice for in the spring over the guy that they traded the farm for a couple of drafts ago, then that would be.
I feel like the 49ers, though, have really gotten to the point, too, where they recognize they can't think about the draft capital they spent on Trey Lance anymore. They cannot let that dictate their decision. And, whether he, me saying who cares just allowed you to make a very valid, good point. So you're welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I should have front-loaded that with thank you. I should have. You're right. It was rude of me to do that. But I guess it doesn't matter that they don't have to worry about the draft capital they spent on them because they got an owner who loves the GM and the coach, and the GM and the coach have built a juggernaut outside of it where the quarterback can be inserted no matter who it is, and they got a shot to win it. So it's a rarity.
Last year, what happens right now?
Yes.
And I love Kyle Shanahan. Known him forever. I think he is brilliant. He is the guy, and he will get his Super Bowl eventually.
Oh, that's a hell of a windup. What's the pitch? What do you got?
What happens if the Mr. Irrelevant last pick in the NFL draft does not turn out to be this actually really adequate, really good starter last year?
Mm-hmm.
They are – what kind of team do they end up being in that final second half of that season? And is ownership then looking at Kyle saying and John saying, Trey Lance, you picked him. He's not the guy, and we don't have anybody behind him. I mean, talk about revisionist history. Like, Brock Purdy really saved the 49ers organization from a really, really dramatic offseason.
Well, or that they would just go with Lance. Maybe the kid just needs the football in his hands, and he is going to be the guy with the huge upside who can run it and throw it. Maybe he's that guy. He just has not had the chance,
Yeah, I don't know. I trust that the 49ers organization has seen him more than any of us have. They're not exactly talking like he's about to take over the starting job while their other quarterback, who was the last pick in the draft, is in Jacksonville rehabbing an elbow injury.
Jeff Darlington, I appreciate the time, man. Thanks again. Always appreciate chopping it up. Let's do it during training camp.
I'm just here to be aggregated.
Attaboy. Just say that over and over again. Put it in your Threads bio, and we're good. Let me know if you're out here in L.A. We'll have you in.
I will.
Okay,
Thanks,
brother.
Rich.
Be well. That's Jeff Darlington, everybody. My colleague, formerly of the NFL Network, now with ESPN, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Upset he was not invited to the Fanatics' White Party. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.